Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dirty 20 Gaming Sunday Night Game Stars Without Number. Our virtual tabletop is Roll20. Our models are provided by Hero Forge. Our overlay is provided by OBS. Art assets have been provided by Pixabay and ClipArt Max, and our music is provided by bensound.com. Orpheus Codex, June 28th, 3200. Captain Booker has emerged from his genetic restructuring, and the crew of the Proxima Icarus is splitting. The mining vessel Pasiphae turning its purpose to rescuing the Okar people. Before that, however, the crews have a means to formally join the Okar. All right. So, the captain is kind of still getting used to his new improvements. And everybody else has kind of spent the last few days helping get everything ready for the ceremony.
Yes, remind me what their names are again.
Okay. So
And
Atlas
last
is
names.
Most of them, well, the Okar, their last name is just Okar.
Is Okar, I know that.
Right. Atlas doesn't have a last name. He was a former slave.
Cool.
So, he is taking the name Okar out of respect for the tribe.
Oh, I was going to give him the last name Icarus.
That works too.
After the ship.
That works too. So,
And what's the Okar woman's name? I have vows I need to get ready for these people.
Yeah, no problem. Let me fill it up real quick. I have information on the crew, I swear.
Well, it's good to know that I'm not the only one that's forgotten.
Shinumi is the Shinumi Okar. I will put the name into Zoom as well. So
I got it written down.
Okay, so the normal tradition for the Okar is that the future mother, whoever will be, basically like birthing children, is the one to the marriage, like the Atlas will be joining their tribe in that regard. And they do that because throughout their society they kind of track lineages and whatnot maternally.
Almost matriarchally society, almost a matriarchal sort of society.
It's really more dualistic than anything. They kind of strongly believe in like certain roles need to be filled, and they very much believe that certain roles might be masculine or feminine, but they don't believe that the person filling them has to be of a biological gender. Does that make sense? They differentiate those things. So with Atlas going to the Okar tribe, then the Okar are responsible for like setting up the wedding. And so they've been in a flurry like all week of kind of getting a traditional Okar marriage clothes ready, which is like a very, very tribal. Atlas, the first time he tried his on, looked beet red in front of Bite because it was basically like a loincloth and a lot of like paint. And he was going to be in front of his whole crew and the other tribe wearing nothing but that, and definitely needed some reassurance.
Can Maiko so Atlas was part of the engineering crew that we picked up from the asteroid?
Yes, he was always like the most quiet one. He liked being up at sensors. He loved music. He and Bite shared playlists.
Can Maiko,
like one of Bite's good friends, if I remember correctly.
What's their wedding playlist?
Epic.
They need a wedding playlist, but can Maiko go to like the Okar chief and be like, God, I can never remember his name, but can she go to him and be like, so there are also some traditional like things that he should wear from our side too, and like maybe give him like a vest or something to go or some chaps.
chaps to go with the loincloth.
I mean, can she like go to him and be like, yeah, we have some traditional garb to add to your traditional garb, and give him, I don't know, a bed sheet, toga, something. Maybe lengthen the loincloth.
Yeah, it's definitely a short loincloth too. Like enough that he kind of always takes hesitant step backs every time Maiko comes too close.
I was just gonna say, she's sort of like, oh.
And
well, I can tell you're not Jewish.
Moni kind of he's like, if
I apologize for that off-color joke, but still,
it's okay.
At least it's not just me.
Moni doesn't have a problem with it. He's like, there are some items that might bring poor fortune. He says, so we should make sure that they are acceptable both to the spirits, and says, and to your tribe.
Booker would like to take some time with Moni as well, just briefly, figure out exactly what the Okar marriage ceremonies are like versus Earth ceremonies, and try to meld those two together in such a way.
So the tradition, the important aspect of the tradition is sharing of blood, which they usually do just by opening the hands and binding them together for the entirety of the ceremony, and like the honeymoon and whatnot. They're bound together for the next like day.
Okay, Booker can definitely do that. He's certain that everyone is up to the date on their medications and will not have any bloodborne diseases in it. But he will check with Gerard briefly to make sure that everyone is okay. But yeah, no.
Yes. Yeah, after that, there's like a honeymoon tent that they disappear into and are expected to not exit from. They do not have a tradition of endurance purple nurples, sadly. But there is sort of a tradition around the marriage tent of like the first evening of it, like the tribe tries to cheer them on throughout the entire evening. Like they don't go in, but they stay outside of it and they kind of catcall the thing the whole time.
I discussed with Moni that we probably shouldn't do that, but we do have something else similar on Earth called a Chastavara, where you bang pots and pans outside.
He's like, if it drives away evil spirits, he's good with it.
Yeah, no, that's part of the purpose.
Yeah, the
and it's
purpose
going to be too loud to hear any weird moaning.
The purpose of the tradition for their part was to like show the spirits that like they had many friends who would stand with them if they caused trouble, kind of thing. So, and the cheering them on just kind of came as like a reflection of trying to do something that was slightly less awkward. So,
I love everything about this. Maiko is definitely going at one point to joke about Bite having a traditional Okar wedding.
No.
And I don't know how long it's going to take for him to speak to her again. But there's definitely going to be a joke in there.
Oh, he's already planning revenge on Maiko for the other prank.
It's something you can do as a couple, plan vengeance against those who wrong you in your relationships.
Shinumi does ask Maiko at one point to be a witness bearer, which is kind of equivalent of like a bridesmaid. The Shinumi's sister, who is also on the ship, like makes a full tribal getup for her, which is also, loincloth headpieces.
I was just gonna say, does it involve a loincloth? Like,
yeah, she's part of the wedding party.
Skin bikini, like.
So the Okar have definitely realized that like the miners kind of have a taboo about like upper body nudity that they do not, and so they've incorporated some like clothing to give a little bit more modesty throughout the thing. but it's kind of more of like a nod to like the miners who than any difficulty on their part. Does that make sense?
I dig it.
So yeah, so she's got a tiny, leather bikini.
I'm not making. Booker is wondering if he has to wear any loincloth sort of thing for his part as officiant.
It is traditional.
Please.
Okay, someone is going to spend a few minutes on Hero Forge making that work.
Awesome.
It's like
Yeah,
a definitely like Picard moment where he's like, if anyone needs me, I'll be in the gym.
Booker is looking at everyone and goes, "You've all seen that I've been at the gym for a while." I mean, there was only a small black privacy bar hiding what I was beforehand.
the
Small may be the wrong word for it. You saw a bit. Anyways.
and the actual morning of the wedding, Maiko is roused by some of the Okar people chasing Rollo like through the ship. At first it's a concern that like they're going to try to make a sacrifice or something, and it turns out that they're just trying to like hold Rollo down long enough so they can get beads and paints and whatnot, so that he can be part of the ceremony.
So he can be pretty.
But after a bit of calming, he is now the most decorated llama on the planet. So kind of cut to the day of the wedding. The best sort of compromise to give Atlas the most possible modesty was like a lovely like big feathery cloak, which he can keep close for the most part. And Shinumi keeps kind of like playfully trying to peek into whenever she's near him, and it like almost reverses the normal like see you in your wedding dress. You know what I'm saying? She's trying to see under his cloak.
He's trying to see under his birthday suit. Yeah, we get it.
Everybody like is transferred down. Most of the Yokar have seen the valley at this point, but a few have not yet. So there's a couple moments where, they're just sort of like taking it in, and there's a traditional area that has been set up with like words against the spirits and painting all over and whatnot. But it's like worked out of stone. There's no other technology involved in its creation. But they've made like places to sit, and they've made sort of like a. It's not like a Stonehenge in scope, you know what I'm saying? More just in shape of like, stones stacked upon stones to serve as sort of a backdrop for the actual wedding, and also as like a dais for the wedding to occur on. Moni is going to be addressing his tribe at the same time that you address yours. Does that make sense? So you're basically talking in your own languages at the same time, you kind of share the role of Defiant. Shinumi is being effectively like both sides give away, their tribesperson. Does that make sense? Shinumi is giving away by her sister, and the chief is giving away Atlas.
Oh, okay.
Atlas. So, Bite has also been requested to be a witness. Groomsmen, effectively. Same thing. They want Bite and tribal clothes. And
he's also getting one of the cloaks. I do. I'm sorry. He's getting one of the cloaks.
Isn't Shinumi already prego?
Yeah, she has.
So it's really funny that she keeps like peeking in the cloak, and Maiko is totally just like, haven't you already? Yeah,
Shinumi just like, I like to see him blush.
Reasonable.
Approval.
Booker just nods behind.
Ade is like very excited about the whole thing. Like Gerard has probably never seen Ade talk faster.
Has Ade already undergone like the physical?
No.
Okay.
Ade is going to be overlooking while you guys go through yours, and then it's going to go through it at the end after everybody else has come out.
That's exciting for Ade.
Yeah. Adi, for the most part, during this last bit of preparation, has been working with Sherrod to kind of like has the unique opportunity to kind of get to design their future self. So it makes sense and has asked for Sherrod's input.
Okay.
Be happy to do so.
And the big kind of thing that Orphea has mentioned over and over in doing a transformation as radical as that is that there has to be touchstones that help keep the person sort of like centered in their new body. Does that make sense? If they're going to be changing height, facial characteristics, they need to keep elements of their face or elements of their body that are familiar, or else they risk rejecting it. So all right. So everybody kind of like quickly settles into their seats. The bride and groom are at the back while Moni and Booker are at the front. The major thing that might be keeping Bite from dying of embarrassment is that Atlas looks even like more nervous and sort of needs a friend to rely upon.
Does Bite have like dad friend override? Because
nope.
No mom friend override?
No. He's probably sitting there like, you can do this, but at the same time, he's like, the minute this is done, I'm running. You all will not see me for the next month and a half. It is fine.
Do me a quick favor. I would like a charisma like talk roll. Because Atlas is about to take that first step and then just sort of freezes.
Is it connect or use?
Talk is preferable.
Attribute?
Charisma. Which
I will also allow wisdom if they have some particular insight. Okay. That'll be enough, So I would like to know what Bite does say though when they see their friend freeze.
He'll put his arm or hand on his shoulder. Hey, just ignore everybody else. You've told me before that you like her. Just focus on her.
He kind of nods. His footsteps are trembling and his hands are trembling. And since he's using it to like desperately hold the cloak closed, it kind of gives this look like he might be trying to fly because the bottoms of it are waving. But he does look up at Shinobi, and Shinobi is smiling and radiant, and she has her hand on her stomach, her belly, like as if she's already looking forward to being a mother and them being a family together. And that seems to just be the last little bit that he needs. And he starts to move towards her. And Moni starts, applause, and most everybody kind of joins in and rises to their feet as the wedding begins. There's a lot of it that's just traditional, the exchange of like certain words and stuff like that. But Booker starts his speech for those who don't speak Okar, Moni begins his for those that do.
A very wise man once said this in recordings on my planet, that marriage is a contract. But it's so much more than that. Marriage is love, it's commitment, it's joy, it's understanding, it's patience, it's anger, it's reconciliation. It's everything. It's like oatmeal. It sustains you. Shinumi Okar, do you take Atlas Icarus to be your lawfully wedded husband?
So at the same time, for those, I think it's Michael and Gerard who both speak Car, right?
Yes.
So there's Moni is telling a parable of how they believe, the gods struck the earth, and their world lay dying. And then he uses that to transition into speaking about hope, that even in a world where everything around them is dying, where they were taken by the cruel to become slaves of a distant world that they had never seen before, somehow they have managed to find their way into new life. And if that is not proof of the gods, and that is not proof of spirits, and that is not proof of Yokar's destiny to be able to find joy and happiness, then he can think of no greater proof in the world, or then he can think of nothing more compelling. And that this union represents the first union that is on a living world instead of a dying one. He hopes that their loins are blessed with many, many children, and their happiness is as bountiful as their children. And then kind of gets to the same point as Booker is, asking them if they want to take each other. And Shinumi nods eagerly and says, "I do."
Atlas Icarus, do you take Shinumi Okar to be your lawfully wedded wife?
And Atlas, it's loud enough to be like barely audible, but it still gets cheers from everybody, just because like Atlas at the best of times usually doesn't speak much above a whisper, but it manages to be just loud enough that everybody hears it. And most of the mining crew gets on their feet, stomping their feet and clapping. And then Shinumi just completely bowls him over in a kiss.
I now pronounce you husband and wife. You are already kissing the husband.
And then
that's it. You're married.
Moni just like breaks into laughter, and he reaches down and he picks up Shinumi with one arm and starts to carry her towards the marriage tent.
Am I supposed to? Oh well. Booker grabs Atlas, throws him over his shoulder.
Maiko's gonna very subtly be like, shoulders, just everybody get him on shoulder. She's gonna try to get his friends to hoist him up post football game style.
Oh yeah. He's definitely trying to manage the loincloth throughout.
That's why Booker opted for pants and a loincloth.
Oh, but it's a very short trip, and he's more self-conscious than anybody there is actually noticing. And so the two of them get put into the marriage tent, and the chief is happy to it looks like they have a mix of metallic pots and pans and whatnot that are going to make noise, and clay vessels that are just going to break, but they're just as enjoy that just as much as the clattering of pans and whatnot, as they start to make all the noise in the world.
All right, they're married. Let's party.
Let us party.
Bite. The moment the let's party begins.
He's either disappeared completely, or
didn't he invite his girlfriend?
Someone did. I don't think.
Yeah. Shumei's in the crowd. But it is Bastion who comes kind of out of the crew of the mining vessel, and he's like, "You promised planetside drinking. Now there's a party."
No. Oh no. Bite's has completely forgotten about this promise and just oh no.
Did I also promise planetside drinking?
He's like, "You volunteered, but you didn't make a promise."
Well, yeah, it's a new liver.
Try not to
kind of
already.
Maiko is totally just wedding shots, wedding shots, wedding shots, wedding shots.
All right. I'm going to have everybody who takes part in Tobias's moonshine make a constitution roll. Maiko is going to have advantage because she has multiple livers.
Is it a constitution or physical saving throw?
I will do it you can do it as a saving throw. That's actually fine.
Physical
I failed.
It's 16 versus 11.
Saving throw. Physical? Oh, Lord. And then you said I have advantage so I can roll again?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
No?
Maiko is overdoing it.
Mike was definitely overdoing it.
All right.
I don't know
Is
how
Gerard
close-
abstaining?
Yes, somebody has to stay reasonably sane amongst this crowd.
I mean, Logos is the one flying the ship, so I don't think anybody actually has to. And like, Maiko's totally gonna be like, Shrod, here, have drinks.
Although I'm absolutely fascinated on how you managed to overload not one, but 2 livers.
I'm surprised that I am
description.
only slightly less drunk than you are.
Tobias's moonshine is also doubles as like a grease remover on the ship. It does not taste good. It is, however, insanely powerful. Booker, a new liver, is also an inexperienced liver.
Yes.
Maiko, despite being small, cannot handle the 4 shots she thought she could.
She tried valiantly.
And Bite is rescued by the arrival of Shimei.
Hey, Shimei, you're so pretty.
Who makes sure that like the one shot that Bite managed is all. You know, Sand is like, oh, I have dibs on this one. I haven't seen it in weeks. Loops her arms through Bites.
Thank you. Honestly, I.
You guys make such a good couple.
Booker has somehow managed to get war paint put on him while he's at this party. Someone talked him into it and he went, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and Bastion's kind of like, I have the best idea ever.
He said what?
I have the best idea ever.
Oh.
He says, we need to play touch football.
Yes.
I'll go get the med kits.
Thank you, Doc.
Shirts versus skins. Feels off his shirt.
Oh, Booker is already shirtless.
Be on Shirt's team.
All right, Maiko's a captain of shirts, and Booker's a captain of the skins.
Let's go.
All right, what do I need to roll to barrel through people?
So this is actually
it wasn't actually war paint. Someone just did I'm available paint on Booker.
So first off, I'm going to have you make a leadership roll to assembling the best teams that you respectively can. That's going to be wisdom plus leadership as just a good general assessment of like who's going to be good for different positions.
I'm already drunk. Let's see what this is. It's a 5.
So you're there's going to be drinking between rounds because Tobias is making up the rules.
Excellent plan. As captain, I endorse this.
This is the best.
All right. So the first round is going to have a -1. If you succeed at your drinking checks, then it stays at a -1. If you fail at them, it becomes a -2, etc. into round 3.
Do I need to re-roll my lead with the -1 then?
No, just subtract a 1 from it.
Cool.
Okay.
Then 4.
So what am I rolling again? I'm sorry.
Lead and wisdom.
Lead and wisdom.
Oh, Lord. I don't have negatives to both. Never mind. Yay.
I only have negatives to 1, which means it rolls flat.
Just a bit of advice. Hangover cures and antitoxins were not on the list of things that I had manufactured for us.
Don't worry, every shot that goes in, 3 drinks of water. It means I have to go to the bathroom frequently, but still.
You're drinking water? That's silly.
So the 2 of you make your saves again.
My God, that explains a lot.
Yeah, I am sober now.
Okay. So you're not sober. You're just not getting more drunk.
Okay.
So, okay. So now both of you are going to make. Let's see. I'm gonna call this an exert roll. And you get to choose your attribute to add to it. It can be strength, dex, or constitution.
9.
Give me 1 second. Give me just 1 second. Because I really want to show these rolls to chat while we're doing them. So I'm just gonna throw this in the if you don't mind.
Oh, Bite's been somehow rounded on to Booker's team. That's why, with the 5, I rolled.
Somehow.
What? No. No.
How did you
No.
invite him to the skins team?
Because you see, Jamae is on the other team. And
Jamae is on the
she
shirts
insisted.
team with me. Yay!
Absolutely.
No.
Yay!
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Bite is going to literally be that kid who hides barely, like, right off the line. Do not make him play sports. Oh my lord, this is the no, that's bad.
This is the best. This is the best. Okay. What am I rolling again? I'm sorry.
Exert. And the attribute of your choice.
Wait, that means
Exert and charisma.
No, physical attribute. Sorry, strength,
Damn
dex, or
it!
constitution.
Damn it! I was gonna go for it. Let's do constitution.
So these are still have a -1 as well. So I think that puts Booker at an 8.
Oh, it puts
Right.
me at an 8, yeah.
Okay. However,
6.
okay. So right now, there's a difference of. So the difference in the first rolls was 4, and the difference in second rolls was 2. So that puts Maiko at having a 2-point advantage as we go. So make your final drinking rolls.
All right. Nope.
So you're going to be at a -2 on that.
Oh
Okay.
no.
I thought you said I'd stay at a -1. It doesn't matter.
No. When you
fully
fail
happy
it,
to take a
you
-2.
go to the
I
next.
take an extra
right.
-1. Got it.
Yep.
Oh god.
Maiko does get to try to roll
Let me
twice.
try again.
Nope. Tobias brings out the special moonshine for the last round.
Oh, excellent.
So, I'm willing
Trial by
to.
solvent.
So for this last round, I am willing to let you guys make a case for any attribute and a skill combination. Does that make sense?
What? I'm going to do shoot with dexterity as an attempt to just throw the ball really hard.
Okay. Seeing if he can translate it into being a powerhouse quarterback.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Where are we shooting the ball toward?
No. Maiko's going to get to make her own play using the ones that.
No, I know, but like, tell me how that. What are we shooting the ball toward?
I would expect Short's receiver.
Okay.
Booker is going long. He's going to be able to get a touchdown to the person who's just going to walk over the line, essentially.
As somebody who has seen under Booker's loincloth, like, he can go way long.
Okay, so what is Maiko's counter strategy? And what is your attribute combination, whatnot, that you're trying to rally people?
God. I want to do. There's got to be a way that I can use my charisma, that I can be like, hey, why don't you guys, like, I'll join the skins team if you guys join us for the next play, or like something like that, like, to basically get his team to turn on him. Because we're playing Calvin Ball rules now.
So she's trying to at least get the wide receiver to change teams at a critical moment.
Basically,
with the
yeah.
promise
She's
of
trying to get
being
whoever. She's like, I will fly.
Okay. Charisma and talk.
Okay. She's like, I will make you a robot that will keep
So both
you
of you,
such
both you go ahead
company.
and roll. At present, Michael has a 2-point advantage.
14 to 12.
Trying to find talk. Oh, here we go. 2-point advantage, you said?
Yep.
So do I add 2 to the modifier?
You subtract 2 from, but don't worry about it. We'll just do it after the fact.
Okay. So I got an 8.
Which
Okay.
brings you down to a 6 because of how drunk you are.
6.
Okay.
So is it
So there was a 2-point difference before. Now there's a 4-point difference in Booker's favor.
right?
So, okay, so the first couple scrimmages, they're coming out like relatively close. Maiko has a small advantage, but one goal is going to be enough to put it back over.
Is that a short joke?
As Nico gets into the end zone, and Maiko makes a promise to like join the Skins team if he changes teams. He clearly is considering it when he gets hit in the face with the ball, and like flops back, and the ball lands on him. And Bastion has no problem calling that a point, as most of the rest of the team is also, absolutely like dying of laughter. So, and the Okar, they think this is like the greatest thing ever. They get up to like start playing their own rules, play their own version of the game, mostly through absorption of what they think are the rules, you know what I'm saying? But clearly willing to incorporate this as like something of a wedding tradition.
Look, violence is happening over there from Booker. Clearly, the Skins team gets to enact epic amounts of violence. The Okar would also have some trouble just getting a Shirts and Skins team properly, considering most of them aren't wearing shirts to begin with.
They will go with the, different coloring of feathers as distinguishing the teams. Jimei also sneaks Bite off of the field in like the second half. Happy to rescue for the second time, but leans and whispers like, we should make for the shuttle now.
I think Maiko and Bite are just gonna, or not Maiko, Maiko and Booker are just gonna get so much more drunk. Oh.
Loincloths versus danglers. Sorry.
I was thinking skirts and skins, but same idea.
Merriment is definitely kind of by all, and also the game is definitely like loud enough and noisy enough that it distracts from whatever's happening over at the marriage tent. There are a lot of embraces near the end, and a lot of people who are probably going to be waking up in the middle of the valley, very hungover. There are a few sober members of both groups that are happy to kind of keep an eye out for them, make sure they get under some blankets, at the very least.
Make sure we're stocked up on aspirin and water. Electrolytes are a must.
Don't worry, I've been thinking about that. I've been drinking some salt water as well.
Excuse me?
Just a little bit, it's fine. Now, where are the captain's quarters? He says
Yes.
on the back on the ship, I'm assuming at this point.
Jimei, so Bite, it is up to Bite whether Jimei and he have consummated their relationship or if they're still in a dating stage.
No.
She does request permission to spend the night.
Bow, bow, bow,
Nope,
bow.
nope,
She smiles, she says, but I will behave.
Bite just kind of, I'm sorry, I'm not ready.
It's like, all right. She says, well, once Nico wakes up, I'll have to fly me back to the capital. It was good to see you again.
And you.
She kind of gestures to the cloak and loincloth. She's like, hold on to that. Makes her way towards the shelves.
Just full blush. Basically a tomato at that point.
So, the next morning is when everybody's going to be gathering at Orpheus to begin their upgrades, genetic restructuring. It is a, it's a process that, like, over the last 2 weeks, Orpheus has kind of provided more information on. Letting people kind of know like what her intentions are and stuff like that for both Bite and for Maiko. It's very much a mental process. There are some improvements to reflexes and the kind of things that Orphea focused on with Booker, but it's a much more cerebral focus on like long-term memory and perception and for Gerard, it's going to be a lot more of like a journey into the unknown. It's a major improvement in his brain's ability to handle the MES energies. The unlocking of some potentially latent abilities, and that's probably going to require some experimentation on his part in the real world afterwards, before he really gets it down. But as far as exactly how they will manifest, even Ophelia can't promise. Does that make sense? So, during this 2 weeks of downtime, Booker's up and about, Ade is up and about, but everybody else is kind of in their own little virtual world that has been created by Ophelia. For Bite, that's a world that like looks more like old school, like 3D virtual MMOs from Earth. Does that make sense? There's a lot of, like digital armor and weapons and stuff like that, and crusading and adventures and whatnot. And also built into it is a lot of like the substructure of different programming languages and stuff like that. So they still kind of get to like dip their toes into the things that they're good at, as well as do things that they enjoy. Does that make sense? It's also consistently challenging. It's never been like you have all the resources of an AI making an MMO for you in real time. So, to call the quests dynamic is an understatement. As for Maiko, it's a fairly strange experience because the ship that she's on is familiar, but it's also not one that she remembers. There's more than once where she's sort of, like getting to do maintenance, tinkering, and finding it to be like rote and routine. And she can hear footsteps and turns like almost expecting to see somebody, and then they're not there. Does that make sense? The people from the ship or you guys can visit each other's like little worlds and stuff. Like you go over to Maiko's, Mike can go over to Gerard's, etc., etc. And at a certain point, like Orphea explains, like this is something that I've seen doing your transference. She says, I'm trying to decode it. She says, but I don't have as much information about your species as I do humankind.
So she's saying that she's seen these. This is a memory?
She says, more particularly, it's a dream. She says, these worlds are fashioned from dreams. You're in a state right now that is like REM sleep. says, and this place, for whatever reason, she says, keeps appearing.
I think the only real ships I've been on have been the capital ship that got tossed into a black hole. And then the Proxima Icarus. And, you know, various, like, stations and stuff along the way, but...
She says, I wish I could offer you more insight. She says, I'm just trying to create something, she says, that is familiar and comfortable for you. She says, and this seems to come to mind over and again.
Well, it does seem pretty comfortable, and it feels familiar. So, good job there.
Yeah, and as like the time goes by during her 2 weeks down and stuff like that, she finds like she knows the engine of the thing backwards and forwards. Like she could disassemble it and put it back together like blindfolded.
She frequently asks people to check on Rolo for her when they visit her in her mindscape, by the way.
All right. So Gerard's is so let me ask, Gerard, is the most comfortable place in his memory the monastery, where he was trained, or was it like the period leading up before he left for it when he was getting medical training and the like?
Probably a mix of the two for him.
Okay.
Simply because his first calling was as a doctor. And that led to the training because he discovered he had the MES markers.
So for those who, you know, drop in Gerard's world, it is like a almost old school Christian monastery. We haven't really talked about it too much, but I've made reference to that most of the people in the sector are chroniclers, and that's CROHN after Crom, who discovered the faster than light methodology of the spike drive. Does that make sense? Most of them believe that he was basically a prophet of God, and that what he did allowed for the survival of humanity and was a divine action. So monasteries are not terribly unusual, nor are, you know, religious institutions. But what distinguishes the Order of St. George is that it's specifically set up solely for the training of psychics in a sector that has otherwise lost all ability to teach psychics how to be psychics. And those who don't learn how to control their abilities burn out, go insane, or die. So for those who know Gerard, there's warmth and everything like that, seeing the inside of the monastery, which is not cold precisely, but is severe, is very different. For Gerard, the most comfortable thing is probably actually the presence of the headmaster there. He was one of the wisest men you've met in your life. You know, somebody who had seen so many people going through enormous suffering, both manifest as like, you know, psychic energy and also cast out from their homes, you know, narrowly avoiding witch burning, all kinds of things, people from all sorts of backgrounds and all sorts of factions and stuff like that, and to make them view one another as people and not enemies and not witches or demons or terrors. For many of them, it was sort of like unwinding what they'd begun to say about themselves. Does that make sense? And he always wore like a scholar's robe, and he was gray bearded and bald, and the least one of the least pretentious people that you had ever met. Does that make sense? The only difference from the actual memory of him is that instead of the Order of St. George, it's like the Order of St. George's uniform has been combined with that of like a hospitaller knight, the knights who used to provide care and succor to whoever needed medical help. And so throughout the time at the monastery, like, while you can feel changes happening in your mind, it's him leading you from member to member to member that you remember from your Order of St. Dragon days, and teaching them medical techniques. So as to kind of keep it alive in your mind, keep the psychic things alive in your mind, and also communicating it to others. Does that make sense?
Yes.
With the occasional, deeper philosophical questions kind of manifesting as conversations with the headmaster. Does that make sense? Talking about the various prejudices, the fact that somebody was just trying to develop a disease and were willing to wipe out 2/3 of humanity in the sector to keep psychics from existing. And it's his perspective that even having done so wouldn't do that, because there were no psychics before the first psychics appeared. And those psychics appeared because of spike travel. And now there's spike travel. So they would just appear again within a generation. All right. Does anybody have any questions for during their time in, or things they'd like to converse with each other about? You guys can see each other's little relaxing worlds. So
Did somebody get the paint out of Rolo's fur? And if so, how?
Booker spent a long time doing that. It was a little bit of detergent, a little bit of elbow grease, and some vinegar.
Bribery? To get him to hold
To
still?
get him to hold still, Booker managed to just do a thing where he very made it clear that it wasn't okay to behave badly in front of him. And somehow that succeeded.
Sometimes it's all it takes.
Booker once quieted a crying child by going, "Now's not the time for that," and he went, "Of course, you're right."
all right. So we're going to take this moment to kind of get some news updates that are going to be arriving to the characters while they're in their transition. So I believe that Maiko has some OBS magic to do.
I'm gonna be reading the first one, I think, right? Was there an answer to that?
I thought that was the case. I thought
Yeah.
you were...
Okay. Let us find it. 6:15. Okay, so 6:15:00. House Green executes journalists. Okay, so an unexpected broadcast from House Green aired the execution of 7 correspondents associated with Sibyllis and the Gorgeus News Network. So I guess this probably like broke in like through another like transmission or something, like the space version of As the World Turns like got interrupted, I guess. I assume. I don't know. Maybe.
So all of these news are coming through the regular news distribution that is distributed by the refueling stations whenever new ships arrive and kind of, pass on the news they picked up from previous systems.
Oh,
so
okay.
much of this news might be days or weeks old. But it's, even the Proxima Icarus does it when it travels to a new system. It takes the news that are in its current folders and it dumps them. And if they find that there's a match that they've already had that news, they reject it. And if it's new, they accept it and they push it onwards.
Cool. Okay, so House Green acted without the approval or authority of the hierarchy of Baal, said Autarch William. He assured the press that an inquiry would be forthcoming. A representative of House Green stated that the correspondents were dissidents acting under the orders of the Alliance of Roses, and were responsible for stirring up unrest and riots throughout hierarchy space. Is it Sibylle or Sybil? Sybil?
Sybil.
Sybil, and she's the news announcer, right?
Yes.
The super charismatic. Okay. So
Yep.
Sybil, pressed for comment, noted that we had always presumed there was no such thing as a fair trial in hierarchy space. I never expected them to forego the pageantry of their kangaroo courts. So that's my news piece.
I guess Bite is next. 61700. Explosions rock. Tetabe? Okay. The Tetabe capital, Martian? Did I get that one right?
Martian.
Martian. Was rocked by explosives at the opening of the 245th session of the Planetary Congress. Tetabe Freedom Coalition claimed responsibility, noting it as the first step on the road to freedom. Casualties were estimated to be smaller than might have been expected a few months ago, as violent riots have propelled many. Know this word and it just left my hand. Aristocratic members to the absence from the session. Planetary Governor Alum Gray of House Gray has declared a state of martial law.
You are hearing the news from SBS from 6/20/2000. SBS in a PR flurry. SBS announced the capture of noted pirate admiral responsible for the unprovoked attack on SBS trade vessel. The dread pirate Adric has been apprehended and is en route to swift trial. The criminal element is always a scourge on the honest capitalism, and we hope this lesson in swift justice will serve as a deterrent to the rest of the sector. SBS also announced the mutually amicable solution that has been found on the ongoing tension with the Dynast, and that peaceful withdrawal from the planet has resulted in the ongoing trade agreement with the Dynast, averting the possibility of open warfare. Finally, the SBS has denounced the action of former employee, department head of virology R&D, Planetary Administration of Sopalak accuses the SBS of the military takeover of their planet and producing weaponized clones in violations with Nihil Ultra. The SBS denounced their involvement, indicating the rogue employee acted without consent from the SBS leadership. They have filed a defamation countersuit against Sopalike, although neither suit is likely to come to a trial absent sector-wide administration.
$625, 3200. Disaster in CN 63340. The Isabellan Dynast issued an announcement declaring the loss of the El Ponderoso, the flagship of the Isabellan Dynast. The loss of the Santa Misa Trinidad y Nuestro Señor del Buen Fin is painful, but a loss that must be borne. A ship, no matter how glorious, is just a thing, and the loss is nothing compared to the lives of the crew. Fortunately, the skillful leadership of Admiral Gavilan ensured the crew of the Ponderosa survived to return to their families. The problem, a technical deficiency in the ship's spike drive, propelled it too close to the event horizon of a black hole. While catastrophic damage was inflicted on the ship itself, the crew was able to launch lifeboats to get to a refueling station in the system. In honor of his heroism, the dynasty is marked May 5th as Gavilan Day, and celebrations are being prepared across the dynasty in honor of the Admiral.
That seems wrong.
Yeah.
And also, our lovely GM, you have been muted.
Yeah, sorry. I think the reaction was, I remember that differently. Okay,
I
so
think there are a few things we remember differently.
so there was an image that was attached to the SBS PR flurry of the wanted Captain Dread Pirate. When Maiko sees it, it actually triggers a memory for her. a memory of being in hiding under the very engine that she is working to repair in virtual space. She's kind of taken everything that she needs to survive. Some blankets for warmth, a pillow to sleep on, and like the food that she could sneak into the galley and steal, and she's stockpiled into a little nest under the engine. And then when she kind of wakes in the middle of the night and goes out and thinks that it's probably the safest possible time, she is halfway to the galley when the door opens and the very same dread pirate that she saw is standing there in dirty overalls, oil on a mechanical arm, his goggles up on his forehead, looking nothing at all like a dread pirate. And she's kind of preparing to turn around and flee and run. He just holds up a wheel of cheese and offers it in her direction. As though he's been aware that she was there the entire time. And that's her memory of her very first meeting with Patrick. She has other smaller little bursts of it, of working on the ship, of learning the trade that she relies on now as an engineer. With him being the one who gave her free rein to learn, to experiment, to practice. He didn't have her same skill, but he taught her the fundamentals, and she had a knack that blossomed from there.
Oh. It doesn't say where they're taking him for trial, though, does it?
It's not.
What?
It does not. Not in the news article.
Is this while we're still, like, in nether space?
Yes, you're still in virtual space. You can still talk to each other. You have about 2 days before you're due to come out.
Okay. And then there's also martial law on one of the worlds, right?
Yep. The world that's actually run by House Grey.
Yeah. Cool.
Something wrong, Michael?
That's definitely not the news that I was expecting. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do in OBS. Sorry, y'all. Hang on. One second.
Ah! We're missing.
I was like, shit! I wanted to, like, switch to the sector map, and I ended up just knocking us all out. Welcome to Dirty 20. We are professionals. Please do not try this at home. Anyway.
I think part of our thing is we are professionals, but also you can do this at home.
So
Maybe not stream it, but you can definitely do this at home.
Don't argue with me.
So Maiko had the last round of news updates. There had been news about where the pirate attack specifically took place.
Yeah.
And that was in the Garate system, which is over on the right-hand side between the kind of two yellow dots.
It's a long way away.
There's somewhere we need to go.
Um,
Is everything okay, Michael?
I. I think we need to break somebody out of jail.
All right. What do we know about this person?
Not a lot. I don't,
Why would we break them
Do we
out of
know?
jail then?
um, I mean, I don't think a lot of us remember how we got on the ship that that we condemned to eternal falling into a black hole, and so I think I have a friend in trouble.
All right. What's the date currently?
So the present date is June 28th.
Okay.
Do I know what the punishment is for piracy in the hierarchy?
Yeah,
This
it's,
isn't
it's
hierarchy. This
pretty
is
universal in all
SBS.
the factions.
Uh, Say that again.
Yeah, so in SBS territory, the punishment for most anything is what is most profitable for the corporation. Most often that comes out as like a slavery sentence. If somebody is too problematic to be useful in that capacity, it's usually just death. If for relatively minor offenses, they're usually basically indebted for the rest of their life.
Okay, and so Maiko doesn't necessarily know this, but this is something that she would ask Booker, and Booker would convey.
Booker would relay most of that. He would also then input a unnecessary detail about that's how he ended up in the military to begin with. It wasn't his debt; it was his parents, and he doesn't know anything else about that.
Wow, that's really shitty, Booker. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't really remember it. It's fine.
well, so I guess we have to go toward. That's. I mean, they'll probably take him to Alcatel, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure that we have to go. I don't know. I don't want to drag you guys across the vast expanse of the stars, but I think this person well, I don't know why, but he means a lot. So I kind of want to see if we can say. I don't think he would stay put for slavery.
Well, let's keep an eye out for where. Let's keep an ear out, I guess, for where he would be. What's his name?
Adric.
The pirate?
Yeah.
I thought you said you weren't a pirate.
I don't remember being a pirate.
Either way, pirates are usually better than the government. Let's go find them.
That's not laughing in character. Uh, If Scar doesn't break me once per session, it's not really a session. Okay, look, I don't think I'm a pirate, but I think I was friends with the pirate. And also, I don't remember any pirating, and I don't remember much, but like, isn't SBS like super into calling just about anything pirating that they don't like?
SBS is pretty much about illegalizing anything that they find offensive. So yes,
I mean, so I know they're
illegalizing. That's not a word.
I got what you meant.
It is now.
It is now. I don't want to put anybody in harm's way without them, like, being okay with it. I don't know. There was just a lot of stuff in that news drop that is very heavy.
It's probably why they call it a drop.
Well, my homeworld is apparently under martial law now.
All right. That is also something to know.
Yeah, I mean, House Gray is my house. So, the bombings are not good news either. I don't know what to do about that one, though.
There's a kind of startled appearance of Ade in the middle of. I'm going to assume this is kind of taking place on Michael's ship.
Oh yeah, sure.
So, she kind of appears in the middle of it, where Ade appears in it and looks around. It's like, Doctor, Orphea asked me to come in and prepare you. Apparently, there's some sort of problem going on with your body, and they need to move you into your consciousness, from your consciousness into your body sooner. They actually need your psychic abilities to help handle MES energy.
Oh my goodness.
Did she see what is going on?
She said that your abilities have significantly expanded, but without your consciousness there directing the MES energies, they might do permanent cerebral damage.
Cause burnout. Tell her I'll be right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
Then Ade kind of looks concerned, but then, takes Ruff's hand, and the two of them disappear. It's a rougher landing drug for you than for the others. There's when your psychic abilities first manifested the telepathy, the difficulty wasn't in using them, the difficulty was in shutting them off. It was constantly trying to make connections and burning up your brain as it did with everyone around you. Does that make sense? As you come into your body, you're aware of like the things that are like still need to be rebuilt in your own body. Does that make sense? That are not yet done. But beyond that, you're aware of like grasses and forest and the myriad species of dinosaurs that are outside in the valley. You're aware of them like on an almost instinctive and primal level. And you also know enough about slaying the dragon, so to speak, to know that this is a very bad state to be in. It means your brain is burning through synapses, trying to like create the necessary channels to control that energy safely.
Right. Exercises, meditations first. Get it under control.
So I'm going to have you make a constitution and your new biokinesis skill.
I just brought it up and didn't roll it. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Seven.
It's a more painful process. It's been a while since you had a new ability manifesting, and these powers are different than what you had before. Instead of, the mental energy and the kind of like awareness of like surface emotions and thoughts and whatnot, it's just like as your normal focus to turn your attention inwards, it suddenly explodes with more information. You have like all the detailed diagnostic information you could want about every organ in your body invading your brain at the same time. And it takes a while to kind of find the harmony between like not looking outwards and not looking inwards, and just kind of being in a zen place between the two. At which point you can actually begin to assist the healing process slowly and carefully that you are in. However, as a psychic, you're a lot more used to like a solid 24 hours of sensory deprivation. It's part of the training, which gave you your abilities. So, so as the others emerge a day later, you've already been in your body for a solid day, helping to sort of channel the process personally. Does that make sense? Into shaping yourself and the future version of yourself. So I'm going to have everybody describe any differences they think are noticeable about the character that others will see as they're first emerging. With the caveat that there's one thing from Maiko that Orpheus is kind of giving us a gift. So I'll have you go first.
With Gerard, there's not much of a difference. He looks a little younger. Before he went into the process, he appeared to be in his early 50s. And now he seems to be younger, maybe late 30s. Other than that, his appearance hasn't changed, including his salt and pepper hair.
Right. Like,
Bite would have asked if he could change the color of his hair.
yeah, that's a simple change.
And so when he comes out, his hair, instead of being more of a dirty blonde, it's a darker brown color. More matching his eyes.
It totally needs to like fall in front of his face in like the half, like the emo thing.
Yeah, probably he does have it probably longer, honestly. So it does do the classic emo thing.
'Cause he's just a cutie. He's so cute.
Yeah, if it was mentioned to Ophelia that Bite would like longer hair, then it's probably well past shoulders when Bite first emerges.
Okay, then yeah. He would have to cut it.
Can't tell if Maiko is excited or frozen.
It's the doggo! It's the space doggo!
Space poppers.
Space poppers! I don't think there would be much difference for Maiko. There's really no... Oh. Yay, food. Thank you for food.
Disembodied hand.
Disembodied hand bringing food. Thank you.
Ring.
This is so yummy looking. Oh god, and now I have to do a bunch of talking, so I have to wait and just smell this. This is fantastic. Anyway, she hasn't changed a whole lot. I think there's only the gift. It should be noted that, like, when Maiko comes out, though, like, so she previously had eyes that were, like, more humanoid, but they were fake. They were, like, contact lenses or whatever. So when she comes out and she's, like, doesn't have anything going on like that, like, she's got they're almost like vertical. Was it vertical, or I don't remember which way I had, but they're like, I think they're more like goat eyes, where they have like the horizontal like pupils. And she definitely has like, they're almost reptilian, like strange color kind of eyes. Like her whole appearance before had sort of been like, the alienness of her had been softened to appear more humanoid. And so she just looks a little bit less like a mini human with gold skin. She maybe has a little bit more of an alien like point to her features. She has her eyes are different. Her hair is apparently amazing now, because as she comes out, Orphea has apparently kept it like the metallic sheen that she still has. Like, she still looks like she's almost made out of living metal. But it seems to shift almost like an octopus's, like, with her moods, apparently. Like, so as she, like, as different brain chemicals interact, I suppose, she has like this, like, oh gosh.
It's the mechanism of it. So
Excuse me.
imagine that Gerard will be curious, is that it's her hair is photoelectric, so it can change colors based on electrical activity, and those have been key to specific emotional reactions.
So yeah, I mean, when she's like calm and at rest or whatever, it's kind of, it's like a metallic cobalt blue. But apparently it shifts and becomes different shades when she gets excited. I don't know what color it's going to be when she gets excited, so we're going to figure that out together. But yeah, so she just looks a little more alien, I guess, is the main.
We'll definitely be tracking that.
Booker's expecting the excitement to like a glow stick. It'll just start shining.
Like little electric sparks, or like a glow bug or something.
Yeah, firefly.
With Gerard's biosenses, I imagine like every time her hair changes colors, he gets a tingle.
Not that kind of tingle, Micah.
Like that he could feel from like a few feet away. It's just like,
That's...
you know, active biological activity. So
yeah, so is Gerard okay? Like, I think one of the first things that Maiko would do, at least when she's able to, is like to check on Gerard.
Booker has been watching as well, just to make sure Gerard is going to be okay.
Everything seems to be functioning normal.
It's good to know.
Ade kind of punches him in the shoulder, though. It's like, after scaring us.
Oh, it's not intended to scare you. Rewriting my cellular structure in such a way had an unexpected consequence. Although it's interesting to note, and I'll need to log it, because it's a very fascinating insight to the method in which MES rewrites the synaptic systems. I don't know that anyone has directly witnessed this process before.
Well, Doc, if anyone can get the field of medical expertise to understand it better, there's no one better than you.
There's a danger in that as well, though.
Yeah,
but
there's a danger in everything, but yeah.
Orphea says, it is up to you. I can provide you with my own notes if you'd like, and observations.
I would like that, but let's keep that between the two of us for now. If this information were to get out, There are extremists on both sides of the issue that would use this in ways that would hurt more people than it would help.
What if I were to translate them into the language that you and Michael both speak?
Well, that'd be easy enough for me. The question is, Mike, are you comfortable with that type of knowledge?
I don't have to read it unless you share it. It's your knowledge, Doc. And I'm happy to carry the burden if you want, but I'm not gonna go looking in your stuff without your permission.
I understand what Orpheus is suggesting, because if anything should happen to myself, having this information out there that someone else can handle, I need time to think about this and contemplate.
It will be stored here in the Codex, as is a great deal of other information.
Thank you.
I think the main benefit of it is that not many people are going to speak that language. Although I
There are
guess
ways.
it's just a matter of running it through a translator.
Yeah, even fewer can read it.
That's not my concern, Michael, but thank you.
And if you want, Doc, I can make some type of program so that only you can get into it.
That would be helpful as well. Thank you.
And I can fire at people who come too close to it. I don't know. I can't do anything to help you out with this.
Orpheus says, I believe that Jemay is awaiting everyone in the capital. Not that you have been restructured.
All right.
A great deal has happened over the last month.
It's Ade's turn, right?
And Ade kind of like, I trust her, in reference to Orphea.
So, Maiko is going to, like, kind of nod, like, she's not going to stop us from going to the capital, but she's also going to give Ade, like, a giant hug beforehand and just be like, good luck. Have Orphea reach out to us if you need anything. And I uploaded a lot of books for you to read.
She smiles and she says, I'm looking forward to catching up with you all again. She says, I can't wait to be back aboard the ship.
Booker places a firm hand on his shoulder and just goes, you've got this, kid.
And Ade smiles and says, I'm going to be so much handsomer the next time we all see you.
If you're handsomer than me, you're getting kicked off the ship.
And Ade just gives a very cheeky grin. Nico, very much recovered from his football-related injuries, is flying everybody to the capital.
Was he the one I struck in the face?
Yep. He was also the one willing to turn tail on his team because Michael was going to flash him. So the flight is fairly peaceful. You know, Nico talks a bit about what's being done, since there is, you know, like an entire ship tenders mount on the Proxima. They're, you know, working on commissioning a new ship design and stuff like that. Logos has been designing it, but it's going to take a lot of resources and time to actually finish construction. But they'll be working on it here on the planet, as opposed to Logos doing it himself alone in space, which takes years when, you know, you're gathering all the resources by yourself. It should be considerably faster.
As well.
The Icarus has been mostly, I forgot the name of the station. He's been mostly at the cross station, and getting used to a much reduced crew size. The newlyweds are back aboard, as are the rest of the crew is going to be coming along. But it's a very skeleton crew at the moment. And everybody's going to be headed there after speaking to Jimei in the capital.
Booker is putting down in his notes, we need to recruit some more members for the crew. The skeleton crew is workable, but it's better to have some more people to allow for more shifts. More balanced shifts is what I mean.
There are a number of people who are aboard the station who are interested in coming to work as well. Only a handful of them have relevant ship experience. They just have some scientific experience.
Booker will take some interviews at some point.
Yeah,
he'll invite anyone else to come along. He'll invite anyone else who wants to come along for interviews as well, but still.
Yeah.
As captain, he has to at least pretend that he has final say.
The capital looks a lot different. The last time it was immediately in the wake of a revolution. Does that make sense? Like it was a few days after, so the fires were out, but nothing had been rebuilt or anything like that. And there's clearly a lot of effort to kind of like creating new stability across the planet, and a lot of that has been through fairly seismic shifts inside of the society. They're calling it the peaceful revolution because compared to the history of Sokolike's last 4 revolutions, this one was relatively bloodless.
That's one dude we launched into space.
There's the trial of Blomkamp is still coming up. As for the rest of the changes, a lot of it is like shifting away from like the noble houses and to more like democratic houses that different unions and factions can join and stuff like that, so that there's still sort of like a limited number of representations, but those representations themselves are democratic. Yeah. It's the effort is to not try to pull the rug out from the entire society all at once, you know what I'm saying, and to get people back to work and back to a sense of normalcy so that they can move on. There's in the physical manifestation of that is that the planet looks orderly and peaceful, and people are going to work, and everything is just running, and there's no secret, revolutionary black net running under everything. People in every corner that are plotting change, and the sort of like the tension that was in the air for years, what I'm saying, has dissipated. And with it, there's a sort of energy to everyone. Does that make sense? There is, at least at this point in history, the sense of like anything can be accomplished. Does that make sense? And that they have been renewed by the sacrifices that have been made. There's also a lot of like journalism going on. Most of it is like broadcast up on like the sides of buildings and stuff like that. And there's intense debates that are happening about like the future of the society and how things are going to happen and what they're going to do and whatnot. But it's happening in the public domain as opposed to behind the aristocrats' walls as it used to.
Yeah.
So, you guys arrive in the capital. The shuttle gets to land directly at the docking pad of the Capitol building. Jimei comes out with an entourage. This is, very much sort of like a formal thing at first, recognizing your role within everything, since it went from semi-secret to just out because there were a number of like the revolutionaries who figured it out. Knew what was going on. So it's not being picked up and carried by journalists, but most of the people with considerable influence have an idea of who are responsible between that things. Jimei gives Bite like a smile as a greeting and like sneaks in a hand squeeze. Does that make sense? But kind of gets Byte is not ready for like a big public relationship to who the prime minister of the planet is yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's a subtle sign of affection.
It is the most like. This is probably the like happiest Byte has been with their type of relationship.
It's it's very clear they're going to occupy some very different worlds. So but that might actually be, but from the conversations Byte has had with Shimei, that's actually one of the appeals. You know what I'm saying? That Byte's never going to be across the table negotiating the political interests of some group. You know what I'm saying? So there's no conflict there. As her job previously had been, as a prosecutor, literally going after corruption. So, all right. After some sort of introductions to powers that be and some names that are thrown fast enough that you're not getting all of them, but are local political powers on the planet, it's back into the actual prime minister's office, where Jimei happily invites everybody to sit, brings up some screens and sort of briefs on what they have available and what they're planning, at least at the moment. And the biggest discussion that's being had is Silver Lake is aware that just being neutral is an invitation to eventually being conquered. The factions that are in the sector have noticed that they threw off the yoke of the SBS, and that's going to have ramifications. It's going to be a question of what did they have that was so interesting in the first place, and how exactly did they muster the strength to throw off a powerful faction. So there's no interest in going out and conquering other planets or anything like that, but alliances can be created without conquest, and coalitions can be expanded without force. And that's the largest focus of where they're shifting their resources to. But the key thing that they kind of need to be able to actually accomplish that is a flagship and diplomatic relations that will be traveling. Their resources are still extremely limited. They're working to expand them. They're going to continue to work to expand them.
That's where we come in, isn't it?
Exactly. Since this thing is growing to grow larger than Silver Lake, at some point it's going to need a name, and it's going to need more. Right now, it just needs friends.
Then we'll start working towards that. And as for a name, I think we can come up with one.
Smiles and looks to Gerard and kind of like, you were going to say something.
I didn't hear that.
She says you were going to say something. She says, and you defer to the captain. She says, but I'm curious as to your opinion.
I do have a bit of experience in this field.
She says, would you talk about it?
Well, it's 2 years at least past now, so it should be safe enough to talk about, if not directly discuss. I'm certain that you are all aware of the chaos amongst the Alliance of the Roses.
Would agree. I helped instigate a few of those.
Well, and a lot of it is self-perpetuating. I was part of an organization that was trying to solidify the government of the Alliance of the Roses to stop the revolving door of leadership. How I've come to be in your company. I have a few contacts probably out there still. I know how to move through those circles. I would be happy to help you stabilize and get your feet firmly planted on the ground.
Jimei says, we're more stable than we've been in a long time. She says, but if you would be we're more stable than we've been in a long time. But if you'd be interested in staying and assisting in that regard, you're welcome to, she says. And if you would prefer to stay on board your ship and provide assistance to your captain, that's going to be just as valuable to us. She says, the Alliance of Roses, more than any other faction out there, frightens me. I know where I stand with the hierarchy, she says. I know where I stand with the SBS, and the Dynast isn't going to stop until every planet is bearing their flag, she says. So if nothing else, they're predictable. She says, but the Alliance has high-minded rhetoric that attracts people, she says, and very, very dangerous actions that don't match that rhetoric. She says they seem just as interested in power as anyone else, she says, but they mask it behind ideals.
Indeed. Having somebody who understands how that political ebb and flow moves will be a benefit to you, but it'll be entirely up to the captain.
Well, Gerard, I would prefer you to stay on board.
I can do what I do on board ship or here.
Then I'm perfectly happy with you coming to assist in any way every so often. But I hope to continue that the ship is your first priority.
Of course.
And I see no reason to deny this. I believe if we can have a sturdy base and foundation to start with, moving forward and into creating alliances, an equity of sorts between cultures, that we could do a lot of good for a lot of people. Now, someone should interrupt me before I start rambling like a lunatic.
Jamaica has this. I will, she says, because I actually have another request, she says, of light. Being able to communicate with you, she says, over the long term, she says, is going to be problematic. She says, meaning the ship. She says, it will require sending out a trade ship after you, carrying embedded messages, and you have to be in the same port. She says, it's a lot of ships and a lot of resources that will basically be spent chasing you in return for exchanging messages over weeks and months. I would like to figure out a more efficient system to do that. Says, or at the very least, I would like you to put your mind to figuring out a more secure method of doing that.
Well, before I joined the ship Icarus, there was a system of communication that I know about from my home planet. And there should be a way that I can replicate it to create communication across, well, as far as we need it. It will take time, but
she says, the biggest concern that I have, she says, as far as a lot of pre-tech, she says, the difficulty in maintaining it. So much of the post-tech that we have, the problem is it was adapted because we weren't capable of sustaining the pre-tech that was there. We didn't have the parts and the tools and the expertise and the psychics needed to keep the technology afloat. Doesn't mean we couldn't if we had those resources.
I may be speaking as only a history buff, but would an interconnected web of spike drives be able to create a system of communications?
Says effectively we have something like that now. She says it's couriered messages instead of an active communication. She says the old system, from what I understand, I only know the very basics, is that it worked through psychics. Because telepaths were capable of establishing connections between different worlds, they were using them as data streams.
Perhaps this is an issue that could be solved by AI.
That's kind of where my mind went. I wonder if there's a way for, well, myself to build an AI to strictly do communications between farther information or farther distances.
Mishime says, I don't expect any answer right now. She says it's going to require a lot of thinking, she says, and then resources and then more, she says, but it's a key problem that I see in establishing anything that extends beyond a single planet. She says, if we create alliances, we need to be able to reinforce those alliances and communicate with those alliances. So. Do you know where it is you're headed next?
I believe Bite is
From where we currently are, the next available location would be the system of Xania.
but if I'm to understand, we are headed to Axolotl,
Which will
Is
still
that
need
it?
to go which will still need to go through Xania to get there. To eventually get to Axolotl. Akaltil. We can
Which
either go back the way
maybe-
we came already, or continue going forward in a way that would take less time, and move us through less of the Isabellian dynasty.
She says, I've provided the resources, she says, to help the Proxima Curse upgrade its engines. It should be able to do longer jumps. She says, along with some of the processing power, she says that Logos will have no issue calculating those distances.
All right.
That,
Right.
coupled with his expertise as a captain, should give you a fairly, or as a navigator, should give you a fairly increased range.
By chance, do you have schematics on those old communication relay systems?
I have some people at the university might be able to provide you some more information about the design principles, but I don't think anybody possesses schematics. Maybe Orphea or Logos.
Something that's something we may want to look into, Captain.
Understood. And in all honesty, a wise decision. We have 2 more weeks here on this. We have 2 more weeks here before we likely head out.
She says, if I could convince you to make a stop in Polixen, she says the Anaran species that is based there. She says, I understand they're highly capitalistic and that they might be interested in creating trade agreements. She says,
In
it would be
Pavis?
useful.
In Pavis? On Pavis.
Polixen.
Yeah, Polixen system on planet Pavis.
Oh, yes, yes. She
Well,
says
that's a
their
good-
technology isn't as advanced as our own. She says, I understand they did something to themselves that put them back a ways. She says, but I don't know all the details.
Please provide me with as many details as you can. If we have a way that we can create a system where we can share resources along with them in exchange for information to help bring them back to the technological point they were at previously,
She says, so the secondary information that I have, she says, is word of mouth, she says, from ship captains. She says, from what I understand, she says they tried to implement some sort of genetic virus, she says, that would reinforce gender roles.
Okay.
Why?
She says apparently it was championed, she says, by some conservative scientific group within them. She says,
The
and
words conservative and scientific should never go together.
she says apparently they did a very poor job.
Yep.
She says, but on the plus side, she says now conservatively layered lifespans are supposedly in the 500 to 600 years.
Wait, what?
She says now, she says supposedly they have lifespans that are centuries long. She says, from what I understand, she says the experiment happened, she says, over 2 centuries ago, and not a single member of their species has died of old age since.
Okay. That's interesting.
Or even visibly aged.
That's disconcerting.
It is.
Can I change the subject slightly?
She says, of course.
When is when is the trial of eugenics boy?
She says, Blomkamp? She
Yes.
says, a few months out. She says, we're going through all of the information that was for the station. She says, there's also more immediate and pressing matters, she says, of trying to treat some of the Booker's cloning-induced age problems. She says, hoping to extend their lifespans and integrate them into the society as a whole.
Yeah.
She says after they lay down arms, she says they've been very cooperative.
That's good.
Well,
And you haven't found Blomkamp yet, have you?
She says, I think that they had gotten a tracking information on the pod, so I think they had. But he had disabled it, or had he disabled the tracking stuff first before ejecting it?
I think we did.
I don't think we did.
Oh.
Did
Yeah, I think
Oh, no,
you guys allowed it.
We said don't pay attention to that signal. It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing.
Okay.
So we went, no, that is a false flag. It is all for a drill.
Okay. Let me rephrase it. So there is no trial of Blomkamp that's coming up then, because he would have literally burned up the atmosphere, because it was an orbital station, so it was within the gravity of the planet. So now a month
Okay.
later, he's a fine mist spread across the atmosphere.
I thought they were able, like, they were gonna go after him, and whatnot.
However, it is 9 o'clock, and I think that is probably a very good place for us to close up.
Yes.
Mm.
The death
So-
of Blomkamp. High five!
So, and we can pick up the next game with I'm gonna have Ade be aboard, and you guys can decide what you've done over the last 2 weeks, and then we'll from there. So,
Okay.
but thanks everyone for coming out. I'm gonna wrap us up really quick if you guys don't mind, if we'll do socials next time.
Yeah. Thank you, Siosa.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming out, and we're glad to have everyone here for our campaign. If you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like and subscribe button. And as is Dirty 20 tradition, everyone, please be nice to one another. And we'll see you next week.
Night, y'all.